Hi, Carrie. How you doing?
Oh, I'm sorry, I had my volume muted. What?
Do you mind if I make you host already?
Yeah, that's fine.
Excellent. Is that a Pokemon? Sorry.
Oh, no, it's just this little the squishmallow. It's one of those the new stuffed animal things. I thought the bear was very cute, so I
Oh,
grabbed it.
he's really cute. I really like him.
I was playing a Pokemon game though earlier.
Cool. Yeah, I get Pokemon for my his girlfriend's son,
Uh
but I really don't understand it. So I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, what am I doing? Okay, I'm gonna make you the host, and then
okay.
you can make other people a host. Like, I guess Nate used to host planning board meetings.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
he did the last one. It was pretty helpful because when I'm doing my minutes, I don't have to constantly like admit people, which is nice.
yeah, yeah, that's good. He's really helpful. I appreciate him.
Mm.
Okay, and I left the recording going because I always forget to turn it back on if I don't.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, actually, while I have you here, do you have the recording from last planning board meeting on?
Yes,
Do you mind sending it to either me or Grace?
I'll send it to both of you.
Okay, thank you so much because I
Definitely.
need it for my minutes.
Sure. I will do that right now.
Okay,
Thank you, Carrie. Thanks for
yeah,
being here, Lily.
no problem.
Have a good
Bye.
night.
You too.
Bye.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
For some reason, I'm host.
I
which
just made you host because I thought you were Nathan. Because usually when he enters, it says meeting host. So I was like, oh, it's him. And then I heard your voice and I was like, oh, that's not him.
I am not host.
You can put it back to me if you want.
Okay, let me see how to do that.
It's like the same way of making someone like a co-host.
How do I stop being a host?
So you just go to my picture screen thing and then the three little dots in the corner, click on that and it'll be a little drop down bar and it should say either make co-host or if you want you can just make me the host.
Yep, I'm doing that.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Great.
Yeah. Well, Carrie, you're actually on camera instead of a photograph.
Yes.
Great.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Hey,
evening.
Nathan. Congratulations.
It's a very silent group when everyone's muted.
Yeah. I think they're just being silent. I don't.
Kind of a hush.
Yeah, well, I mean, it looks like we have quorum. I'll call the meeting to order. We are being recorded. The first thing I'd like to say is we got a note from Linda saying she wants to leave us. She listed all these reasons, but I can't really understand it, and I'm disappointed. Maybe she's muted.
I am. So I'm not resigning. I'm simply not running this time around.
Right. You've been here a long time.
I think probably 12 years, 15 maybe. Yeah.
2006, 2007, around in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got involved when we were doing the zoning overhaul. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm finding that tweens are actually more time consuming than small children because you can't just put them to bed and get on with your life. So
Mhm.
Well, soon they'll be off to college.
then I'll come back.
Okay, well, I'm sorry about this. It's been good.
Brace is loose.
Yeah, it has. So it's hard to lose an old member. It really is.
I'm trying to do some.
A long-term member, not an old member, Jack.
Yeah.
That's true. Long term. And I was on Concom before that. So it's actually it's actually time, for me to just sort of be a Shutesbury resident for a while.
Yeah.
I'm an old member.
You realize all the fun you'll be missing.
Yeah, I was looking at the, what I would project to be increased time commitment too, and it's just isn't going to work with 2 kids and activities and working 40 hours a week and all of that. It's just,
Well, Steve came on around the same time, I think. And so all I gotta say to Steve is don't get any ideas.
Hey, 1 day a month, right? That's what I was told. Remember, Deacon?
that's-
Lies were told.
Good. I'm glad to hear you admit that at least.
when I was elected for the first time, I started going to the meetings before I was actually a member, and they were weekly when we were redoing the zoning bylaws, and they were long in addition to being weekly. So I feel like I've been on more like 25 years.
Yeah.
They were long and, shall we say, educational.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And took years and years.
Yeah, the
Well-
master plan was finished in 2004 and we didn't get the zoning done until 2008,
Yeah, yeah,
although we worked on it that whole time.
yeah.
So who else has been on the planning board for that many years? Are you the longest serving, Linda?
Deacon
No.
and Jeff have been on for like 45 years, I think, so.
Yeah, hey,
I
Deacon,
started-
I think you've been on the longest, haven't you?
I think
Did
so.
you-
I think it was 95.
Oh, my God. A
Wow.
different
Yeah,
century.
when did you
No,
come on?
no, Deacon, oh yeah, okay, so you were on a year before I got on in 96.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got appointed by the select board without planning board vote.
Right, the planning board didn't even know who I was. I came to the meeting and nobody talked to me for 3 months.
They were smart. They should have kept that up, actually.
Well,
In 96, I was like in 7th grade.
Oh, don't say that.
please, please. Well, let's move on. So Jeff, you talked to Donna?
I did, and I left a message with her Monday where I posed the questions, and then today we spoke on the phone for a while. And let me get to the first question, the staggering of terms. So the statutes, lay out that the terms are supposed to be staggered, but they don't necessarily give you, they don't lay out a way to re-stagger them if they become unstaggered. She suggested that we figure out where everybody's at. And if there's a problem, then we work with Grace to try to get it fixed. And one way to get it fixed is, say if Linda is going off the board right now and there needs to be some adjustment to her term, and Grace was agreeable, Donna thinks that term, say, could be, for 1 year or 2 years, just to get things back squared away again. Or perhaps I'm up for re-election. Perhaps I, instead of insisting on a 3-year term, could agree to a lesser term just to get things back to normal. But she did say with a 7-member board, if you go in a 3-year rotation, like 3, which we have now, and then 2 the next year, and then 2 the year after that, she thought that's the way it was supposed to work.
And that's the way it used to work.
Okay, so we're going beyond a 3-year cycle then.
Yeah,
Yeah, so if we did a fix like you were talking about, Jeff, I think you're right. Like if you or Linda's slot or Robert had a 2-year term this round, it would mean that whoever that person was and Nathan would be up at 2024.
Yeah, and we can just, and so we can just do that sort of arbitrarily.
She said that we should try to do that with Grace. We need to figure out just what needs to be done. And then see if Grace is willing to work with us on that. I mean, she did say Grace is a new town clerk and is very cautious with what she's doing, because a lot of it she hasn't done before. And Donna would be willing to step in and guide Grace if necessary, if she was balking.
Yeah, I think the one challenge that I could see, it depends on timing, but when you take out your nomination papers, you're running for either a 3-year, normally it's a 3-year seat. You'd have to get nomination papers for a 2-year seat. Like sometimes you'll see that on the elections. And so, for example, Jeff, if you were to do it, you would need to take out nomination papers that said you were running for the 2-year slot as opposed to the 3-year slot. So just knowing who's running for what. So it shows up on the ballot the correct way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're all 3-year slots. It's just that, they're staggered out. So
Well, the way you described it is one of you, whether it was Linda's position, you or Robert, would only be running for a 2-year position this time around. And then it
Yeah.
would get, so.
we do a one-time change, and then we'd be back to 3 years.
Yeah.
I guess I need clarification. What is the issue?
The issue is that when Nathan comes up in 2024, he will be the only one up. And that's what shows me that they're not being staggered as originally intended. Because as Jeff said, in a 7-man person board, the 3 years should be 3-2-2.
So why don't we just see if we can work with Grace to get, well, let's see. If Linda's slot was just made to then coincide with Nathan's by having it be a 2-year, 2-year position, then that slot and Nathan's would be up in 2024.
Right.
So maybe that'll do it.
Okay, I have two questions. One, if we got special permits, Linda, would you resign immediately?
So that's sort of like something that we need to discuss, is if business starts heating up quickly, should the associate members start stepping in now? And should I maybe switch places with them or something? You know what I mean? Because when does the new, I know town meeting has now changed when it is, when does the new term start for a newly elected member? July 1st?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so if things really picked up between now and then, I would think we would want at least the associate members on board and actively doing something, so that when I am no longer here, there's continuity, and you're not waiting for me to.
Well, one thing is we do have, after the filing of a special permit, we do have time to do something before we need to hold a hearing.
Yeah, it's I believe it's the hearing that has to be fully attended. That part, from when the hearing is open until when it closes, there needs to be.
So I would suggest that we
there.
assess the options of appointing somebody. But if this were to take place I don't know when the election, is the election gonna be what, in April, right?
It sounds like it might be a little bit later than April from last I heard.
Who's up for election? Jeff, Linda?
And you?
I'm up for.
Oh,
election.
no, you're not. Yes, you are. Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
yeah, it's because looking on there's an elected official sheet. And so Deacon Steve and I were up in 23. So that's next year. Linda, Robert, and Jeff are up in 22, which is this year. Then Nathan's up in 24.
But my guess is that we would have enough time to pull it off if we did get an application.
The
Yeah,
question would be is, if we, if Linda decided to resign prior to the election and we decided to try to appoint somebody, would it be possible to appoint somebody for, for more than just, the 1 month before the election comes or
I don't
whatever it
believe
was?
so. I don't believe
no,
so.
I think we would use the associate members. That's the beauty of it. We
Yeah.
have two people that we can tap for continuity's sake.
No, that's true. That's true. Absolutely, yeah.
All right, well,
Then my other thing is I just wanted to ask if we were doing public comment. Because
Yeah, me too.
I don't think we did.
Well, let's just finish this and go to public comment.
Okay.
But I'm happy to talk to Grace about getting this straightened out. I mean, this didn't happen on her watch. This started on the previous watch. So I don't think she needs to be defensive about it.
Yeah, Deacon, I would suggest, it's an idea that we take Linda's slot only because, people who are new, they'd much rather commit for a 2-year than a 3-year. So it might make it more appealing in that regard.
Sure. That makes good sense.
sounds good to me.
Yeah. So
Deacon, shall you reach out to Grace?
yeah, I'm happy to. I mean, I talk to her pretty frequently anyway. So I mean, and I have mentioned this problem to her, and and she threw up her hands just as I did at the time. So
Okay. Do you want me to report the answer to the second question, or shall we save that till energy storage?
well, I mean, I think the question is whether we go to public comment or your second question.
Let's do public comment. Try to
Yeah.
stay on schedule.
Yeah. So is there someone here who is interested in speaking now and about something that's not on the agenda, or maybe you need to leave?
Yeah, I just want one quick thing.
You can't leave.
Yeah, no, I can't leave, but it's, so, I sent in some minutes to Grace to be posted.
Yes.
And I also attached files that, we kind of looked at during whatever meeting that was. And Grace asked me what to do with them. And I was kind of like, well, I don't know, OML says that they're supposed to be part of the record, but I think she asked, I have an email. And she says, I can put them on the website or, Masstown government. Usually don't include ANRs with minutes as far as I know. Don't want to print them, blah, blah, blah. But so anyway, does anyone have any input on that? Or should I just kind of let her figure out what to do with them? Or
I would say that we should just have her talk to Linda because they do have to be part of the record. So whatever Linda was keeping it as part of the official record, but it
Right,
wasn't on
right.
it wasn't on the website. I think that's overkill.
Right.
So that'd be my guess. I think it's
Sure, we
just
already have copies of all the documents, or most of them anyway, but anyway, that's good to go. I'll just, I'll reach back to her and let her know I mentioned it to the board and that we would refer her to the administrative secretary. So that's, I'm good with that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Well, I didn't hear anybody for public comment. So let's go to your second question, Jeff.
Oh, Miriam's waving her hand.
Oh, I can't see her. Okay. Please, Miriam.
Yeah, I was just gonna say about minutes. My understanding is that you've got to have on the minutes a list of the documents that you refer to. The documents don't have to be attached to the minutes. I know there's on the My Town Government platform, there's a place where you can load up documents, but I don't think we're required to do that. They just had to be maintained in somebody's archive as a public record. So like if they're in your emails of your town email account, which you never can delete because it's a public record, then that's sufficient, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, it just,
But you have to reference them. So what we do is we have documents used at the bottom of the minutes and then a bulleted list of all the things we referred to.
That's what
Yeah.
we've been doing too.
yeah, the law says that any of those documents need to be included in the official record, included with the minutes in the official record of the session.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean,
I
not to be a stickler, but
thought they had to be in the records, like in the public records.
well, I mean, no, I responded to her, I kind of quoted a little bit, documents, blah, 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 shall, along with the minutes, be part of the official record of the session. So I don't know if,
So what
the documents being attached to the email that I sent Grace with the minutes would be sufficient to meet that requirement or not.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, so anything that's in your work, the email account that you use for town business is a public record.
No, I understand that.
So as long as you've maintained it in that format so that if there was a request for information, a document request, it could be retrieved. And people would know to retrieve it because it's listed on the minutes if they wanted it.
Yeah.
That's why maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, this would be my advertisement for anyone who wants to have a separate email for their town business should do it.
No doubt. Oh, but what I did is I copied planning at shutesbury.org because that's, I could delete my Gmail account. I could delete all my emails like Hillary Clinton. Whoop, I'm just kidding. But no, seriously though, I mean, who's to stop me? But if it's on that town account, I mean, it would, that would be a kind of a little bit harder for somebody to do. And it's a little bit more, it's a little bit harder, a little bit more official. Just
Yeah.
saying. Copy a town account. I mean, even the town clerk is probably sufficient. Anyway,
I believe with emails, even if you were to delete your email, you could go to Google and state whatever, and they could probably retrieve it, similar to like how phone records and text and calls are.
yeah,
Okay, all set?
all set.
Can I ask a question?
Oh,
Does
please.
that count for me right now too? Because I'm party to all the planning board emails.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
so I need to not, I can archive them, but I can't delete them. Is it okay for me to archive them? That's what I have to do at work.
yeah, I mean, when I was on the web committee, what we came up with as a recommendation, and I know Nathan's done it, Miriam and I have done it, is just create a separate Gmail account.
Okay,
For-
yeah,
Because part of it is if you're asked to check public records, you have to go into your personal email. And so having them segregated is a much better way to go.
Yeah.
So, but technically, everyone who's a town official or a town volunteer is an employee of the town, even if you're not getting paid.
mhm.
Um,
All
Ashley,
right, I'll make
I
a
would just
separate
kinda-
account.
I would just kind of note though, the emails that you're getting that are, sent to planning@shutesbury.org,
Mhm.
when those are captured by that email account.
Right,
So it's not like if you delete one of those emails that, a spam email or anything like that, even, if I send an email to planning with the minutes, like if you were to delete that, it's still captured in the public record. It's not dependent on you. That's on the planning board account. I mean, you shouldn't.
I figured, that's why I was asking if
But-
like
but if
I
you-
need to save it all too.
But if you
But it sound-
if you forward it to someone, or if you respond to it to me or to someone that's not on one of those official town accounts, then that's something you need to be a little bit more mindful of.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's go to Jeff's second question of Donna.
Okay, this came up at the last meeting relative to energy storage and the energy storage bylaw that we've been working on. And the question was, does energy storage, if not associated with, say, a solar project, does it enjoy any type of exemption from state law? Does it fall under the solar exemption if there's no solar project with it? And Donna's and my conclusion was that it does not enjoy that exemption. If it's accessory to a solar farm, like what we have at Wheelock, and it's on the same premises, and the energy being stored is from the solar project, then yes, it would likely, very likely, come under that exemption as an accessory to it, like quite a few other things that are involved in a project like that. So then my next question to her was, well, if we didn't wish to permit freestanding energy storage facilities, could we prohibit them for now in Shutesbury? And her answer was yes. So they don't have to be, we don't have to entertain that as a use unless we want to. We do have to anticipate that they will be part of solar farms going forward, because they pretty much all are at this point. So that's the answer to that.
Thank you, Jeff. That's helpful.
And then,
Oh, and I also told Donna about the approach that Michael and I had taken to the associate member, and she thought that made perfect sense,
Cool.
okay.
which I think we talked about at the last meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's good to get her sign off, though.
Yep.
We want to talk about the Wheelock report.
Why don't we do it after ZBA?
That's fine. We're scheduled. Let's do it.
It'll
can
take
start-
Chuck 5 minutes to sort of start the meeting and,
We can start 5 minutes early.
Oh, well, I don't know. Is Herb here? I don't.
yeah,
He is.
he's
Oh, there
muted.
you are. Okay, hi, Herb. Herb, you're muted. Unmute.
I know.
Okay, thank you. All right, you want me, the meeting was scheduled for 7:30. You have no objection for me to begin?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
certainly.
either.
Okay.
There seems
All
to be a
right.
groundswell-
What?
There seems to be a groundswell of support for starting you early.
I have no problem with it. Anyway, I'll open the meeting at, I guess it's 7:26 PM, and I will announce that the governor's COVID mandates no longer apply. Probably don't even have to announce that anymore, and that this meeting is being recorded, but you already know that. So if I can, we have in front of us, to my ZBA members here, Herb and Jeff, we do have minutes of January 19th, 2022. If I can get a motion, I would appreciate it.
A motion to what?
Approve those minutes.
I move to do that. Yes.
Okay, so Herb Gilmore moves to approve the minutes of January 19th, 2022. Do I have a second?
Sure. Were these the minutes that were combined with the planning board minutes?
They were, I requested that our land use clerk take these minutes, and she did, and so I don't know if they're this, you know. we
No,
do
there,
have-
that's not the same. It was a different meeting. It was just ZBA for that meeting.
Oh,
I
okay,
believe It was more geared toward
great. Thank you.
Salvador's.
I
permit.
stand corrected. I guess if you weren't there, you weren't there. Okay, so it's just a ZBA meeting, as the land use clerk just reminded me, and I thank you very much to be corrected on that.
So I've read a planning board version.
No, it's not a plan, it's not a joint meeting.
Oh, that was the one where we did the.
It was a special permit for Salvador.
We finished
Yeah,
up at
just-
Salvador.
yeah,
Okay,
just
yeah,
correct
I
it.
remember.
Wasn't
that.
a joint
Okay,
meeting.
okay, okay,
It was our only meeting
okay,
in January.
right. So I looked at that. So I think I seconded it, the motion
Okay.
that Herb made.
Thank you for seconding it. Are we ready for, do we need discussion or are we ready for a vote? Hearing no request for a discussion, I'll assume we are ready for a vote. What say you,
Vote.
Herb Gilmore? Did you say something, Herb Gilmore? Did you say aye?
I just said, go ahead and vote.
I can't hear you, anybody. Did Herb Gilmore say aye?
I couldn't hear that either.
I couldn't tell.
Herb, did you say aye? Herb,
I say aye.
okay. Jeff Lacy, what say you?
I also say aye.
Yeah, Chuck Damari, what say you? Aye, the ayes have it. It's, these minutes are approved unanimously. Please transmit them to the town clerk as soon as possible, Carrie. Tell her that these minutes are approved. Okay, next item is, I think we're back to a continued discussion of an action plan with the planning board of recommendations for zoning bylaw changes relative to Lake Wyola District and an expansion of the zoning board of appeals to 5 full members. I guess we're co-chairing it now, Deacon.
I guess so.
I don't know if you had any discussion at the meeting that I couldn't attend per order of the town clerk because it wasn't posted.
No, pretty much we didn't do it
Okay,
without you.
all right,
I would suggest we do the composition first because that should be easier.
okay,
I sure would hope it would be easier.
all right. I agree with that. That would be great. Does anybody object to expanding the board to 5 members? I mean, obviously, there's the issue of finding 5 members, but beyond that issue, because that's a different issue, is there any problem with expanding the board for 5 members as a bylaw change? Does anybody have any objection to that?
It's well, the way I understand it, on some things like special permits, even if you're having trouble finding the 5 members, say you can only find 4. The quorum for the purposes of approving a special permit is 4. So you're still in a case where it's all 4 have to vote in the same way. What happens if the ZBA is at 3? 3 out of 5 can meet. That's a quorum to meet, but you can't do anything on a special permit because you have to have 4. So,
Jeff, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
there are instances where if you can't fill those seats, it could backfire on the ZBA.
So just to clarify, there's a difference between a quorum, so you can meet and act, and then there's the number of people you would need to take action, right? So on a special permit, it's 2/3.
Variance, yeah, go ahead.
So quorum's a majority of the body. So if you had 4, you need 3 and you'd have a quorum. And if you had a special permit and you needed to take action on it, i.e. vote, 2/3 of 4 would still be 3.
No. Well, I'm not positive on this, but the way it reads in the statute is a board consisting of 5 members or a 5-member board. That doesn't necessarily mean all those seats are filled, but if you become a 5-member board, then
You need
your
4?
majority is 4 out of 5,
So even
Even
if
if
you have a
it-
vacancy,
even if you haven't filled them.
So to vote, if you had all 5 members present, what, Jeff, tell me what your thoughts are. If all 5, you had a board of 5 and all 5 members showed up, what would rule the day on a special permit or a variance?
4.
What vote? Of course,
Four.
if 5 votes would certainly do it, but would 4 votes do it?
4 votes do it.
But 3 votes would not. Okay, all right. As long as we all understand that.
Yeah, for a supermajority of a 5-member board is 4 out of 5.
Okay,
Supermajority for a 7 is 5 out of 7.
okay,
Supermajority for 3 is 3.
okay. Which is what we have now.
Yep.
All right, I'm still good with it.
This may be just really, this is not really substantive, but I just wondered when Michael wrote it up and it says there is hereby established a zoning board with X number of members. I mean, is there any problem with the fact that there is already a zoning board? I mean, do you need to say something that indicates you're changing rather than establishing?
Yeah, I thought it would be an amendment. The way I looked at it, it would be certainly just an amendment to what we presently have.
Yeah.
We go to the section where it's 3 and you just change that language.
well, if Nathan can let me share, I'll put up what I wrote because I think.
Because I haven't even seen it, but go ahead.
Yeah, I did send it to you and Herb, so just,
I guess I didn't get it, but go ahead.
I got it. I got it.
When did you send it, by the way? I'm just curious.
no, I'll, Nathan, can you,
Put it up. It's all right. You can just put it
Well,
up.
I'm actually host, but I
Oh,
can be
Carrie.
co-host.
okay, tell me when, let's see. Okay, there we go. Can you see that?
Yep.
So the part, what Deacon's talking about is hereby established. So it already exists. So, one could just change it and say the zoning board of appeals consisting of 5 members, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't have to say established anymore. I guess that's the question, right, Deacon?
I just wondered if there needed to be some acknowledgement of the fact that you were changing the number rather than establishing. I mean, and maybe I don't know if that's a meaningful question or not.
Yeah, well, I think it would just be taking out this first part. You can just say a zoning board of appeals consisting of 5 members and 2 associates. I think the rest of it hangs together okay. I thought the same
If you
thing.
take out there is hereby established, then you don't have a sentence.
Correct. Deacon, I knew that.
It's a
Even I
long
knew that.
phrase.
Yeah, no, just leave it the way it is. I mean,
Yeah.
The only change is the 3 to 5. And it's still, that is still what's establishing it, even though it's been established before, it's just now establishing a 5-member. I'd leave it in there and make it a sentence.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Fine, good.
Okay. Okay, Jeff, I assume in the zoning act, there appears a provision an authority of the zoning board of appeals to overturn a decision by a building inspector. Is that
Oh, yeah.
correct? Okay, that's
Yeah.
just, so that's inherent right there.
How
Okay.
about if we just say hereby, leave out there is, hereby is established, and then put that at the end,
Sure.
is. That makes it a sentence.
Sure. I have no problem with that.
That's elegant.
It's a sentence.
Yeah.
So are we ready to, is this something we're all comfortable with, or do we want to have discussion? How do you want to do this, Deacon?
Well, I just had a discussion about have we clarified the issue of if something is brought before the board, right? And the voting on it. So what's the difference between the numbers there? Because you were talking about that, Jeff. I'm just, what are we really voting on? What's the super majority? You say it's 4.
If it's a
It
5-person board.
depends on the size of the board.
So regardless of what we say here, the state has established 4 out of 5. If we say 5, it's automatic. The state says 4 out of 5 for a super majority,
Yeah, if we.
regardless of what we say here.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
because we are now a 5-member
Yep.
board.
Yep.
And whether all those seats are filled or not, the state doesn't care.
Well, I mean, this has to go by town meeting though, of course, right? This is
Yes,
a proposal.
and it still needs a hearing. This is just a recommendation.
Just
If
a
it-
recommendation, a
Right.
joint recommendation to change the bylaw, and then we have a process after that.
Right, it goes to select
Ultimately,
board and then
yeah.
comes back, then we have the hearing and then it goes to town meeting.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then the AG's office has to approve it. That takes that's another 3 or 4 months.
It has to go to Donna even before all that.
Yes, yes.
So the
Exactly.
super majority issue doesn't even come up here. It's a state thing, has nothing to do with what we say.
Yeah, it's the
Correct.
zoning act and,
Right.
and
Yeah,
that applies just to variances and
Yeah, yeah.
special permits,
Yeah.
as I understand it. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think that's it.
Yeah. And all the
I'm not
rest
sure
of
about
that,
appeals or the other things, but.
yeah, in terms of site plan reviews or overturning the building inspector, it's 3 out of 5 would do it, right?
Yeah, site plan review is home rule, so it's whatever we established in our bylaw, which I
about
believe
you
is
say-
simple. It's simple. Simple majority for site
We
plan.
could
review.
also say hereby. We could also say hereby and put the is established at the end. That would even be nicer.
Hereby established.
it's up to you.
The zoning board of appeals, okay.
Is
Hereby
established at the end. So hereby a zoning board is established, boom, at the end.
Yeah, I
It has
think
to go at the end.
I think that Donna or someone else will tweak it if necessary, but that's fine
Yeah.
with me.
Absolutely.
For me, the real question is, do we all agree that this makes sense?
I think it's up to the 3 of you. I mean,
Well,
more than us.
well, I mean, the 3 of us can so state if we decide to, but I thought the whole idea here was a joint recommendation from both boards for this bylaw change and then to start that process.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but if you guys had a problem with it, it would
No, I have,
impact your operations.
no, I have no problem with it. I'm in favor of this.
Yeah. Well, eventually the planning board has to make a report on this thing. That's how we get into it. Because any zoning bylaw coming from any source eventually routes through us to hold a public hearing on and write a report on before town meeting.
Yeah.
We, the planning board, do that.
So,
So
Michael,
if this is not established, we just default back to 3.
yes. So, Michael, you just, is it your position that you just want the zoning board to vote on this and no one else?
No. I think the planning board is, we can and should vote because that's been the expectation, like you articulated. I was mostly saying, when you were saying, who's in agreement, I was feeling like the ZBA's gotta be behind this, because if the ZBA is not behind it, it's not gonna work.
Well, I for one am behind this, so maybe we should hear from Jeff and Herb what they feel about it. I am certainly supporting this.
I'm behind it. I mean, I would have liked to know that it was 3 out of 5, but if it's a super majority, that's the way it's in the state law. I'm for it.
Okay, Jeff?
I'm for it as long as we have the members.
But it will default back to 3 if we don't.
Right, because 3 can function. Right. Okay.
Well, wait a
Well,
minute.
It won't default.
Yeah, there's no defaulting.
There's no defaulting back because once you pass this, you're a 5-member board.
Right.
I know
right,
that, but
and
if it doesn't pass, it defaults
have to
back
have-
to what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
It
didn't
doesn't
pass.
pass. I mean, if it passes town meeting and it says 5, and we only have 3 members, and the select board, as I understand it, and it certainly there's precedent for it, will have to appoint a temporary member. So that's happened in the beginning of my tenure 26 years ago. For a couple of years, we didn't have quorum. And we told the select board, and they just appointed people. In fact, they used to appoint one of themselves to the board temporarily.
Yeah. Well, it shouldn't, any appointment would be through June 30th. You guys are all appointed through June 30th. So if someone gets appointed in July or August or September, it's still going to run through June 30th. So it shouldn't be a big deal.
Robert, I have a question. If it's a 5-member board, what is a quorum?
Quorum is 3, but on special permits, you need a supermajority of 4.
So that, okay, so if there's a 5-member board and there are only 3 elected officials, is not sufficient to vote to act on special permits.
Right, and if I were the chair at that time, I would ask the select board to appoint someone else temporarily.
Yeah.
I mean, a 5-member board and you don't get, and you only have 3 people who have run for office and got elected, the select board would be asked to appoint the other 2?
Well, I guess, because normally we're all appointed, but let me see, 3 members and 2.
You're all appointed.
Yeah, we're all appointed. There's no
Okay.
election for this.
Chuck, if you wanted to facilitate the process, you could state right now that you are up for consideration as an associate, and therefore you could always get to 4 people.
Well, I don't know. July 1st, you all know I'm resigning on July 1st, so.
Yeah, no, but you could be called out of retirement, so to speak, if they needed a 4th.
I mean, I would be open to, if I was available, I would be open to being a temporary appointment for one case. I mean, I would, if the select board called me and said, can you just show up for one case? We have a problem. I would certainly consider it. But if I'm in Italy, I probably wouldn't consider it unless it was a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, Zoom.
I'm in
Zoom.
Florida. I'm in Florida, so we're Zooming.
And you're in Florida right now, but these are
Yeah.
Zoom meetings right now, but I don't know that there'll be Zoom meetings a year from now. I mean, maybe they will be. I
No,
don't
you
know.
can. You're
Zoom's gonna
allowed to
exist
Zoom.
forever.
But before the pandemic, people could Zoom in. It just had to be that the chair was present and the board had to agree that someone could remotely participate.
Okay, great. That's good to know.
Okay,
All right. So, Jeff and Herb and I are in favor of this. Do you, Deacon or Michael DiChiara, do you think we should vote, or should see if you're all in favor of it and then have a joint vote? What do you?
I think they got to be separate votes. I would
right.
suggest that someone on the ZBA move and you guys
All
vote,
right.
and then we
So
can do our vote.
I'll ask either Jeff or Herb to move as it is written and drafted by Michael DiChiara to make a motion to approve this.
I'll also move.
Okay, Herb, do you have can we?
I'll second.
Is there any further need for discussion? Either from you, Jeff, or from you, Herb?
No.
Hearing none. What say you, Herb Gilmore, on this vote?
Aye.
Motion, aye. What say you, Jeff Lacy, on this motion?
Aye.
What say you, Chuck Damari, on this motion? Aye. The ayes have it. Is passed unanimously. So now you want to take over, Deacon?
I do. I think we should. I think we should have a planning board motion to approve this language.
Yes. I'll move to approve the change of the zoning board of appeals, section 10.3-1 to expand to 5 members.
I, Robert, second.
Okay. Discussion? I can only see five people. I don't.
Yeah, I only see 5.
That's all you're
Toggle
gonna
left
see
or right,
if it-
Deacon.
No, just,
As far as,
You should unshare the document and then.
Oh,
then you
sorry.
share it.
There we go.
you know,
yeah, there you go.
Now we can see everybody again.
Okay,
this may have been mentioned. I just want to make sure I understand, why we want to do this, which, if I understand it correctly, is just so that it's not a situation where you have to have a unanimous board in order to do anything. Does that basically sum it up?
I think so. For me, it is in terms of the special permits and variances.
I mean, the irony is if only 4 people are on the ZBA and it's not a full 5 people, it'll still have to be unanimous, but hopefully there'll be 5 people.
That's true, but we're hoping someday there really will be 5.
Yeah. Just pointing it out.
If this passes town meeting. we hope-
I would have a very hard time supporting this if it was an election, but since it's appointed by the select board, that, seems to be easier to make the leap there, that they'll be able to find someone, even if it's one of themselves. So I'll vote for it.
okay, more discussion? Anybody else want to say anything?
I hear Linda's going to be free.
Okay, so,
Yeah, Linda and Chuck, you're gonna be called up.
Oh, I may not be around. We'll have to see where I am.
so I'll call the planning board roll. Jeff,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Michael,
Hi.
Linda,
Aye.
Robert.
Aye.
I'm an aye.
Yourself.
Did I miss anybody?
Nay.
Steve?
No, I just said nay.
Oh, okay.
You didn't miss anybody, that means.
God, I did better. Good. So, well, that's good. That was the easy one. We can move on to harder topics.
Okay. The other one is just that amendment that you had before. Do you want to put that back up, Michael?
Yeah, and I guess I have a question in terms of preference. So I sent out 2 versions. I'm guessing, Chuck, you didn't see them because you didn't see the other email.
Well,
But-
I did get some version of a version that you sent out.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know when I got it, if it's been something.
Well, I'm gonna share it, so don't worry about it. But I guess the question is, I sent out one that had no substantive changes. That was just the rewrite. And then there's one where I highlighted some substantive questions that, we can easily ditch, but they're in there for discussion. So which would we prefer to be looking at?
I have one that says proposed amendment to section 6.1-3. And then I have 6.1-3 extension or alteration. There's an A, there's a 1, 2, and an A, B, C, and then there's a B.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of more paragraphs.
Yeah, I'm gonna be bold and
I don't know if this is.
go with this one. Can you guys see that?
I mean, the first one was proposed reorganization. No. You're gonna go with the ones with the changes.
Yeah, it seems
Good.
like we
Yeah.
can go less. It's easier than taking stuff.
So,
we can take
Let's
it out.
bypass that first one. Yeah,
And so just what I did for the color coding was I thought there's really 3 potential add-ons. So the blue is the whole knockdown rebuild concept that shows up 3 places. There's one about, instead of neighborhood, redefining that to be abutters or residences within 500 feet. And then there was a definition or calling out of some of the detriments. So those are the 3 things that are substantive. I'm not attached, but this is what we discussed and was on the table. So it'd be easy if we go through this to sort of say, I like one, but not the other. We can get rid of it. So hopefully that's helpful for our discussion.
I thought that we had already determined, and I thought maybe there was a consensus, I could be wrong, that the whole idea of knockdown and rebuild is inherent in the other language, and it's probably not necessary. Reconstruction, extension, structural change, major exterior alteration. I think that the idea of a knockdown or rebuild is inherent in all those words. So that's what I would say. I thought others agreed with that, but as to your blue, as I'm talking about just your blue language.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just chime in for me. Originally, as I think I mentioned, Mayor Fox had articulated that as a loophole. So that's how it originally got in there. I think my general approach to these things, within reason, of course, is that if it has to be sort of interpreted later, then it gets to be a point of contention. So if there's a sense that it's a legitimate thing you want to include and we can create clarity about it, that's beneficial. There's the bigger question of there's a lot that's open to interpretation, but that's, if it makes sense and people don't have objections, it doesn't hurt anything, I think it's worth keeping. But I'm not attached, so I don't live with it.
I would say reconstruction is the main word here. And you could potentially take parentheses, including knockdown rebuild after reconstruction.
Yeah, I had a version like that. I think that was the earlier version.
Right.
So
Which then says, okay, extension is different than reconstruction. Structural changes is different than reconstruction. Exterior alterations are different than reconstruction, but is knockdown and rebuild different than reconstruction? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it was, what Michael's talking about is a loophole where, when you knock a building down and then you have a vacant lot, right? And then at some later point, you try and build on it. So I'm not sure how that loophole worked. But if I obtain, I think to demolish a building, you need some sort of permit, right? Whether it's just if you can do it by right and you need to talk to the building inspector, or whether you need to go before one of our boards to get it. I don't know off the top of my head, but you demolish a building, right? So now you have a vacant lot, and then in 5 years, you can build on that lot by right if it's permitted by zoning. If it's not permitted by zoning, you can't do it. So I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think any loophole
Nathan,
like that would be.
Nathan, it's been established by case law that you take something down and it's down for 2 years, you've lost it.
Right.
You're sort of out of this section, and you've got yourself a problem lot. Then you don't have the benefits of a lawfully non-conforming structure, because after 2 years it's deemed to be
Abandoned.
abandoned. Yeah, not there anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I
guess, yeah, if you were to knock it down and then within 2 years build it, that could be construed as something that isn't reconstruction.
Then why don't you just put that including knockdown rebuild within 2 years?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think so. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I think I'm actually starting to understand what the loophole is, thinking about it. And now that I understand it, clearly indicating what it is reconstruction is, like a rehabilitation or whatever, you're not really knocking it down. But if you completely demolish the building and then within that time frame, right, that would be, the knockdown rebuild. So if there's that statute, Jeff, that mentions a 2-year period where you're still protected.
Where is that 2-year period defined, Jeff?
I read it in a case today.
No, but it's not in our zone. It's not in our zoning bylaws, that 2-year period.
Oh, it is someplace, but this relates it to non-conforming structures. And the if you have a gas station and they don't allow gas stations anymore, and you go out of business and it sits there vacant for 2 years, then you can't have a gas station there anymore. This case related that same principle to structures that were non-conforming. If they're taken down and they're the lot is essentially vacant for a 2-year period, it might as well be like you never had that structure there anymore.
I see.
Well, does reconstruction inherently mean knock down and rebuild?
I thought it
No.
did.
Well, then why don't we just say reconstruction within 2 years?
It seems like reconstruction is working on an existing structure.
Yeah, no, I'm starting to understand what the difference is now.
Yeah.
And it is a distinct thing. So, I mean, knockdown rebuild could, you know,
How about
I
take
would-
out
I would- I would-
include,
I would say something
and just
like,
put down reconstruction, comma, knock down, rebuild within 2 years, comma. Take that out of including. This doesn't really include it. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, just to let you know, the zoning act itself has minimum basic protections for lawful non-conforming 1 and 2 family homes, and it doesn't include anything about reconstruction. It includes extension or alteration, but it doesn't say anything about reconstruction. That's how our zoning bylaws are more generous than the state statute. State statute's minimum protections for landowners. We've gone beyond that with the reconstruction and some of the other things that we've done.
Jeff, what's the citation on that?
It's chapter 48, section 6,
Okay,
first, the last half of the first paragraph.
cool. Thank you.
Yeah, we had this up before, we were looking at, it's the same one as before that, you know, so talking about a substantial detriment to the neighborhood, right?
Yes, yeah, it's in.
Yeah, it says that they can only be extended or altered in state law.
So Michael, what you have in blue, is that basically a definition of reconstruction?
No.
No,
a
it's separate.
So that's a
category?
basic state.
Yeah, now it's a separate, well, I think the recent conversation with Nathan and Herb sort of clarified that knockdown rebuild is separate from a reconstruction. Reconstruction concerns an existing structure. Knockdown rebuild is you take down the structure, there's nothing there, you make a new structure.
And Jeff said the statute says within 2 years. So that would include all those provisos.
A case law interpreting this paragraph I just cited established that for non-conforming single and 2 family dwellings, that if the work you're doing on it is if you knock it down and wait 2 years, don't expect to get all these protections because they go away.
So Jeff, I have a question. It seems like we could take out the time frame because by definition, after 2 years, anything that's non-conforming would not be non-conforming anymore. It'd have to conform, right?
If it's demolished.
Yeah. So if you say it's knocked down,
That's
rebuilt.
That's tantamount to abandonment.
Yeah, so if they come back in 3 or 4 or 5 years, one would just have to say, you're no longer legally non-conforming. You're non-conforming.
Yeah.
It's,
Although, I mean, it doesn't hurt to put that in the bylaw so that it's clear. I mean, we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I just wanted to clarify.
I mean, you are correct, right? If it wasn't in the bylaw in 2 years, like if we totally nixed the whole section, it wasn't in the bylaw, someone came after 2 years, we would be able to say, no, you've lost your protection without having it explicitly in the bylaw.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I think clarity is helpful, but I just.
Do we want to say
check.
do we want to say demolition as opposed to
I think so.
knockdown?
I think so.
Demolition as opposed to knockdown.
Sure.
But I mean, knowing if
or
is demolishing the same as knocking down?
Yeah, I mean, are we playing with definitions that have, are we playing with words that have operational definitions.
Yeah, I did
Yeah,
look at,
that is a key question, right? Because
I originally looked it up to try to figure it out because I didn't know what to call these things, which is how I ended up with the knockdown rebuild.
yeah.
I can, let's see.
What is the law say, Jeff? About that definition, knockdown versus demolition.
I think demolition is more of an operating legal.
We
word.
don't have either of those terms in our zoning bylaw, and they're not in the state statute as far as I know.
Then
see
there's this thing about within 2 years that's in the state statute, but what do they call it? In the state statute, if it's 2 years by that one case.
I see the word demolition in cases. I've never seen lockdown in cases. So.
I mean,
Our zoning does have you require you to have a permit for demolition.
yeah,
So I Googled it for what it's worth. It says that demolition is more formal. So that would speak to what Chuck is saying. That knockdown is more colloquial.
That's what I think.
And it says demolish would be applied to situations where buildings, houses, or other structures were being destroyed. Also more formal than knockdown. Knockdown is usually used. Yeah, okay. So I think demolition might win.
You mean blowing it up versus tearing it down?
Well, no, because so like a knockdown, like if let's just use a kind of absurd example. Somebody, drives their car into this rickety old shack on Lake Wyola and knocks it down, right? And then you want to rebuild it. You didn't get a permit to demolish it per se, right? But it's that could potentially be considered covered under reconstruction. But if you actually do get a permit to demolish it, right, then you could say, all right, well, I've got protections, right? And I want to build a house. But now we're covered under the bylaw because we're covering the demolition. Because that was the loophole. If you demolish it and then you have your protection for your non-conforming structure and you say, well, why can't I go up? Well, you can if it's a finding by a special permit that, or whatever,
oh. Why don't we consider the term demolition and reconstruction within 2 years?
Does it, well, if you say and, it has to be both. You can just reconstruct it by itself without demolishing. So you don't want to lose this first one, right? So you're saying reconstruction, comma, demolition with reconstruction in 2 years as a category?
What's
demolition with new construction?
What's reconstruction without demolition?
Reconstruction is if you have a house that has become structurally, basically a condemned building. And you go in and you do and you rebuild it, that's reconstruction. So if you rip out beams and put stuff in there, that's reconstruction.
But it's not, that wouldn't be covered under structural change, major exterior alteration, other terms you already have?
Well, structural change is more specific to like changing the structure of it. Reconstruction might not change the structure of it. It's just replacing the existing structure with new components.
Well, what about that?
I mean, I know we're really splitting hairs here, but I mean, the idea is to make sure that we're
Okay,
covered.
well, what about reconstruction, comma, reconstruction, reconstruction, comma, demolition and reconstruction within 2 years, comma, and then the other things.
Well, it wouldn't be reconstruction if it's been demolished, because there's nothing to reconstruct, it's demolished.
Yeah, it would be
Well,
new
you're
construction.
reconstructing what was demolished. I mean, maybe you have a minor reconstruction where part of the house is falling apart and you reconstruct that.
Right.
Or a complete reconstruction where you've demolished and then you're reconstructing. So there's two different.
How about that?
How about total demolition?
Well, if you do demolition with construction or and construction. Yeah, how's that look?
Well, if you reconstructing what was demolished, I mean, you know, maybe you have a minor reconstruction where the part of the house is falling apart and you're reconstruct that. Or a complete reconstruction where you've demolished and then you're reconstructing. So there's two different.
How about that look?
Probably have to put new instead of in front of construction, because otherwise it'll say
Yeah.
total construction.
Right.
Or you could say new construction within 2 years of demolition. Because it's kind of like total demolition and new construction within 2 years of what?
Yeah.
Say that again, Nathan. New construction.
Within 2 years of demolition or total demolition. I don't care which, but.
Yeah.
I would actually, I mean, I would actually favor demolition without total. For
Well,
whatever
total
that's
could
worth.
be under reconstruction if you didn't put total.
How about total, complete and absolute?
Or any combination thereof.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, I mean, I'm
catches
good.
it?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
reconstruction doesn't mean total demolition. Total demolition doesn't mean reconstruction.
Right.
You know, it'd be good having town council take a look at this, right?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Attorney General, too.
But it
Yeah.
sounds like conceptually we're good with the idea if Donna's good with the language.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, does construction have to be finished or started within 2 years?
Hmm.
I thought it started, but I thought it was started.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, I'm
And
good with that.
started within or begun within, yeah.
Robert, seems like total is redundant. Demolition means that it's totally torn down.
Yeah, I
It could be-
agree.
It could be partial demolition.
Yeah.
I think you'd say demolition.
Well, demolition
I mean,
doesn't
think,
mean it's total.
And it's,
How about complete?
Complete.
So I can tweak this blue stuff as we have the next part of the conversation. You want to move on to the green?
Yeah.
You're gonna just follow that same language.
Yeah.
Yeah, while we're talking, because we'll be talking for a while, I'll just sort of cut and paste. But so to launch us into the other thing, what I ended up doing here was the original language talks about the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so, neighborhood's a vague concept. We might like vague concepts. That's the debate. But what we talked about last time was defining that a little bit more. So who has the right to have issue, essentially?
Well, I think it has to be 300 feet. It's a statutory requirement. I don't think you can expand it. The neighborhood is also defined by numerous cases, and I think you have to leave it in that state. If you want to further define the neighborhood, I mean, that's the whole idea of what a zoning board is supposed to do.
How would you define the neighborhood? How is the neighborhood defined?
Well, in the case that was the controversial case, we defined it as the entire lake.
No, not you. I mean, you said it's defined by the state. So if the state's defining it,
it's defined in case law, and there's numerous cases that define it. And it's, obviously it's within the context. For example, I think I mentioned defined by case law, Beacon Hill of Boston, the section that's called Beacon Hill is a neighborhood. And if you can look at all the cases, they're going to define this is a neighborhood, this is a neighborhood, this is a neighborhood.
Right, but that's not defining, that's just identifying.
Well,
Because
that's the whole exact role of the zoning board or any board that's looking at this. They have to themselves define what the neighborhood is.
okay, well, I guess that's what I heard from you guys, and the reason I put it in, and then other people can debate about it, is if it's contextualized, the three of you or the five of you in the future can have different understandings of what the neighborhood is. It just creates a lot of debate. Like, is it the east side of the lake, the whole lake, the west side of the lake, just the street? So it seemed like having some parameters where people who have opinions and feelings about whatever's happening know that they have they can express public opinion, but they might not have a legal ability to sort of say, I'm in a butter or I'm within this sort of thing and my voice counts as opposed to like, I'm a cost. So that seemed like the more you can define it, you can have a sense. That's where it came from.
I think every voice counts. They don't even have.
Well, it's different. Maybe not.
You know,
if
I
you're
mean,
down the street and your view is not, and you're saying, I care about it because it changes the view and you're not directly impacted.
you can
That
say
voice
that,
is
nothing, you certainly have the right to so state that. You
right.
don't-
But in your
the question-
deliberations,
The question is who has standing to bring lawsuits?
well,
That's the question. And that's defined by statute. And that's an abutter. And who are these abutters? In terms of neighbors, if just looking at neighbors, that's people who live within 300 feet. It doesn't mean that you can't be involved. Otherwise, you certainly can be 500 feet or 5,000 feet or the next town over. Even.
So Michael, if you were going to refine this, I mean, the statute does use the term neighborhood without any definition.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to refine this, you could say, I would use the term neighborhood, and then you may want to say with particular emphasis or with something, and you may single out some closer
To
in
the
category.
neighborhood especially.
Yeah, especially those within 500, those properties within 500 feet or something like that, who are likely to be more directly affected.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna fly. So you can.
I would suggest just leaving it at neighborhood.
I don't think it's gonna fly. If you put anything above 500 feet.
Well, I just changed it to 300. So given your
All
point,
right,
so
right. Okay.
I'm not attached. I'm just editing as you go.
Yeah.
Well, it comes
Michael,
down
if
to the whole,
you-
it
if you
comes
wanted
down
to-
to the neighborhood issue. Does Beacon Hill, I think I said one of the discussions, Beacon Hill's a neighborhood, and Jeff said, well, I think people who are in parts of Beacon Hill would argue that there are other neighborhoods within Beacon Hill. I think that's probably true.
That's the history.
It's hard how do you define neighborhood? That's what it really comes down
Case
to.
law defined Beacon Hill as a neighborhood, and for that particular case, I don't remember all of the facts of that particular case, but they defined Beacon Hill as a neighborhood.
But that was a judge taking one case. So, but
Yeah.
if you said, downtown Fitchburg, is that a neighborhood or is it, is it the east part of downtown Fitchburg? Every
Yeah,
case is going to be different.
In Fitchburg, it would be up to the zoning board of appeals to
Right. That's what I mean. You pick it up out of Beacon Hill and you plop it down somewhere else and the neighborhood changes
Well,
automatically.
You can have many zoning board members disagreeing about if all of the downtown of Fitchburg is a neighborhood or not. And you have that discussion and you make a finding what the neighborhood is. I mean, that's the, and I think you're guided by the statute, you're guided by the case law.
Yeah.
So Chuck, regardless of what we put in this bylaw, would anybody who lives more than 300 feet from the site have no standing in court?
They may or may not.
They may or may not. Okay, so I mean, there could be situations.
You can live 1,000 miles away. You can own it. And you certainly have standing. You can be, you can own the property but not live there. In fact, that's exactly what happened in one of these cases. We had a person owned the property but didn't live anywhere within. I don't even think the person lived in Shutesbury, but he owned it. He certainly has standing. If he wanted.
Well, there is a category that does exist in our law. It's called parties in interest.
Right.
Those are the people that are abutters and abutters to abutters within 300 feet. Those are called parties in interest, and they get special notice of these hearings. The notice is mailed to those parties because they're assumed to be in interest.
Exactly.
So
that's
a term of art that you might want to use, Michael, is especially parties in interest or something, because they're defined already.
That's
what
I
get a
would,
list of them.
I would agree.
Why don't we just, Jeff, I think it's a good idea. Why don't we just put abutters and abutters within abutters with 300 feet?
Well, because it might change. Why don't you just
Okay.
abutters
Of
and
interest.
parties in interest? I think is better.
Parties in it, yeah. Yeah.
And parties of, yeah, that's then I'm comfortable with it.
parties in interest.
Okay. Let me just make the color change.
Yeah.
Like that?
Yep.
So is that parties in interest defined in the state?
I think so. But
It's certainly a term that every land use lawyer knows in Massachusetts.
Exactly.
And it, yeah.
It is.
I think we're safe with it.
I think we are too.
Whoop, sorry.
We should get this done and ship it to Donna. This,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
just-
I don't
Yeah.
think, I
it's
think
a
the whole
nice
real
big
thing
steak
was,
for her to bite into.
Yeah.
I think
So,
the red will be struck. So I'm not gonna even talk about it because I think it's not gonna fly either by Donna or the Attorney General's office. But if you want to keep it there, I don't, it's up to you. I don't think it's gonna fly. If you want to talk about views, you got to do it in a different way, not in this kind of bylaw. You can put it in that you can talk about master plans, you can reference master plans, you can reference in preambles, certainly about views, if you want to start talking about views. But I think here it's going to be a problem. That's my opinion, but I think Donna's opinion and the Attorney General's opinion is much more important than my opinion.
Yeah, but these are the things that the neighbors are interested in. And they have to be addressed.
There may be constitutional questions, so I don't, they could be interesting.
They could be addressed in a special permit hearing, but they probably should not be addressed in the bylaw.
Exactly right, because I think it'd be I think it's unconstitutional, that red stuff, in that context, right there. But I don't
Okay.
care. It's not, there's someone else at a higher pay grade than me, who actually gets paid, will make that decision.
yeah. Jeff, do you have thoughts? Since you're the other.
I don't think it's constitutional. I think as stated, it's unconstitutional. That's my thoughts, not me, but I'll defer to Donna McNichol.
Yeah,
or I'll defer it to the Attorney General,
Yeah, well, I think if you guys think if you think it's got merit, let's send it to Donna and have her cross it out. If it doesn't have merit, then don't bother.
Well, we have to be sure that we're writing this for the whole town, not just Lake Wyola.
Right. That's why I think you should put views in a different place, in preambles, in master plans that are referenced,
Because, we do a lot of cases down there, but we could definitely do them elsewhere in town too. And we have to apply this section. So, detriments in one place could be different.
Yeah, I would, if I were you, I just strike the whole thing.
All right, so Michael, one thing you might want to put in there in parentheses is a note for Donna. Can we be more specific here about the kinds of detriments we're talking about? And just, don't mention any of them, or just put a note.
You gotta put it back in, Jeff.
Well, you can, why don't you just say, can we be more specific about what kinds of detriments? And then you can write, for example, views, and just to see what she says.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do that. I would do what Chuck just said.
And then see what she says.
Okay.
And then
Note to Donna up front.
Yeah, yep. Should I keep it here in this context or just pull it out and put it like really separate as a note?
I don't mind if you put in parentheses.
Yeah.
If scenic, for example, scenic views.
Yeah.
That I don't have any objection to that, and then just let her answer the question.
Okay. Cool.
There
So
you go.
I changed this blue. I just have to read this one to make sure it's grammatically correct. But it seems like we've done what we need to do.
Is
Well,
that,
Well,
Is that weird the way,
not for me, you haven't, but go ahead.
Well,
I think, because for me, it's something way more important than any of what we've talked about, and that's, you have to go up one.
no, well, hold on one sec. I mean, I think what we talked about was minimally getting it reworded. That was, Herb had suggested that the easiest thing we can do is to get something changed that's understandable to residents who, the lay reader.
Right.
So
That's
if
good.
we want to spend another hour going back and forth over the same argument,
No,
But it
no, no,
seems
no,
like-
no,
yeah.
no, no, no. I just want to put it on the record.
Before we move on,
I just want something on the
Steve,
record.
Steve,
This
have
is
you
the-
shared the minutes?
This is starting to sound familiar.
Yeah.
All I
Chuck-
want to
Chuck.
say is I think B can't be there.
but before we move on,
Yeah.
does it, the board finds that such proposed alteration is not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure or use to the neighborhood, especially parties in interest. Does that kind of like, is that kind of weird the way that jives right there?
Well, I just, from my viewpoint, in reading cases about this, all I think when the court looks at that, if this flies, the court will just look at that as redundancy. That's all. They don't care about, redundancy, because they infer parties in, especially parties in interest. So the worst case scenario is just redundant. I don't think it's problematic. I think B is problematic.
Well,
2B.
the question is, who are we writing this for? Are we writing this for
Well,
legal purposes or for people
well,
to
I think,
understand?
well, that's why I want you to rewrite it, because I think if you keep B2B the way it is, I can't imagine any circumstance. I cannot see any circumstance where someone does not go on the sides or the front or the back. In other words, they don't increase the nonconformity on the sideline. They don't increase the nonconformity on the front line. They don't increase the nonconformity on the back line. And the only argued increase of the nonconformity is going up. I say you can go up to whatever is allowed in the bylaw. And our bylaw is 28 feet. I think any other interpretation by any zoning board that says you can't go up to 28 feet, and if there's no other extension of a nonconformity, I think is unconstitutional. That's what I think. So I just want to be on the record for that. And that's all.
All right. I want to be on the record.
You disagree. And
I
guys,
want to be on the
time out.
record.
I think you're both on the
disagreeing with
record for this already.
And-
yeah, but I just want to be real clear about that.
I've researched a number of cases that back this up. I've reviewed it with 2 land use attorneys, prominent land use attorneys, and I have zero problem with this provision.
That's fine,
It's
Chuck.
not
That's
unconstitutional, and
no
if,
problem. Just keep it in
if our
there.
zoning
Let the
board,
Lake Wilder people speak.
Keep it in there. Make some lawyer wish.
if the zoning board administers it carefully and correctly and thoughtfully, based on the evidence that they find in a particular site, denials based on this will stand up.
Yeah.
No problem.
And by the way, your research, Jeff, that you gave us exactly said what I said, that they can go up to that height. And that's in terms of the side, in terms of the front and the back, the sky is the height that you set in the bylaw. That's the nonconformity. If it goes beyond 28 feet. And I think that's what SJC just said in 2019. And I think that's the precedent. It's right here.
So, but Chuck, I got to jump in.
Yeah.
So I think we spent more than 2 hours discussing this already. So it's not productive to go forward.
No,
I think what we agreed to is that we can make it more understandable for people, and that would be a public good. We can add these things, and we can revisit this next year. And
I won't be here.
Well, you could do a citizen petition to change it, and then we'll have to discuss it
another way.
Yeah. Or you could ask to be appointed for another year if it meant that much. But I can't imagine. I don't want to. We should if we need to let people in Lake Boyle chime in about this. But I think for this particular argument, we've already talked about it for
that's
way
fine.
too long.
But I think you should, just like you asked a note to Donna, I would put note to Donna for B. What do you think of this? That's all I would do. What do you think?
Well,
of that?
to be devil's advocate, and I brought this up in our initial discussion, you really are logical about this. If you want to increase nonconformity, it could also be building a cellar that's deeper. So what happens if you say, I'm going to go lower than the point that's existing?
It doesn't
increasing
matter.
we're increasing the nonconformity below the ground.
but that's not called out. That's not height, that you're not,
But wait a second,
that's
we're
not called
talking
out.
about
in B.
we're talking about non-conformity, not about what you're calling out.
No, you're calling out the highest point. So you haven't done anything to the highest point, so it doesn't matter. You're okay.
Okay,
All I'm arguing is why don't you put a note to Donna, just like he had about that. Is there any constitutional issue with this? That's all.
I think there's no harm in doing that. What Chuck
It's not a
suggested.
problem. It's not a problem.
And then you, Jeff and Chuck could just talk to Donna, one on the left ear, the other on the right
No,
ear.
no. I've already had.
Yeah, that would be good. I'm seeing, like the two people on the shoulder, right?
What do you think about this, Donna? You
guys got to flip for who gets to wear which costume though.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Just do that. That's good.
All right.
I have a non-substantive comment. The blue in the second and third lines of B doesn't really make for a good sentence.
Yeah, I was trying to do it while everyone was talking. You have a better suggestion?
Not yet.
Okay. I can play with it if you want offline, if people are,
Yeah, because
if the concept is good and we, approve it pending my grammatical edits.
yeah,
I can forward it.
So is the idea now to get it into a presentable form, ship it off to Donna and have her come back to our meeting and chat with us about it?
I think so.
I hope so.
Unless she wants to spend 3 hours talking to you and Chuck, in which case you guys should talk by yourselves and then come to us.
Yeah, I mean, at some point she should weigh in, whether she comes to a meeting or she writes a memorandum of it, or writes a memo. Something she should answer our two questions.
But yeah, I think essentially we want to be able to send it to Donna, so we can't go forward
I
beyond
would
this point.
so I would just recommend taking out where it says in B, where it says B, what you called out. Just take out B.
Yeah, that'll help.
Say one more time.
If it is, or if it is, in under
Oh,
B,
yeah.
second sentence, may be constructed, or if it is a
Well-
new construction. No, down here.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Hold on.
Where Deacon was talking about. Where
Got it
Deacon was
here.
talking about.
Or
No.
if it is.
No, keep going up higher.
one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or take out B, or if it is A.
Thank you.
And
The
again.
same thing down here.
Okay.
Or I guess you don't need it down there. Or
down there's
yeah.
Yeah.
That
Or
looks
if
good.
it's a new construction begun within 2 years of completed demolition.
Yeah.
So
You can
let me
remove
just,
that was, right? Probably a new construction begun instead of a new construction that was begun.
Yeah, I think that should
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Or
Yes,
a new
was-
construction.
yeah, was begun, yeah.
Within 2 years or commencing.
Like that?
Or beginning, or, I don't know,
Did you say beginning or who said beginning or end within? Begun within or end within?
Like that? Beginning within?
And I think you need an it after if.
Yes.
Which,
Or
Yeah.
if it,
There,
yes.
there.
or you could,
A
or
lot of
Beginning
citizens
should be
waiting to
begun.
speak.
He was supposed to take all these other ones
That's
out. He
ridiculous.
didn't, he left them. Blockage of
I almost want to say, just kind of move it to after major exterior alterations or something like that, because it's weird stuck in the middle of that other list, right?
there?
Right, I think so. And then there's the or that's stuck there. Reconstructed, comma, or comma, extended.
Right.
Does that capture it?
No, take out the or comma before extended in the second line.
Ah, I got it. Okay.
So the if it goes back to non-conforming structure.
Yeah, so it needed,
If it goes back to non-conforming structure.
Or there can be new construction beginning within 2 years of complete definition. Provided a special permit is granted.
Do that one more time. I'm doing it in here.
No, right there is fine, I think, so, yeah, it's weird, because it's like two different concepts trying to be within the same, for some reason, it doesn't jive, I don't know what the.
I
grammar
would suggest letting Michael take this back and
Yeah.
just on his own massage it, run it by Donna, and if it flies, we're good.
Cool.
Yeah, so you get the general idea.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So I will be bold and, at least for the planning board, move to amend section 6.1-3 as outlined, with the provision that we make grammatical errors for readability, or grammatical corrections for readability.
Motion seconded, Robert.
Deacon, I hope you're not going to ask if anybody wants to have more discussion.
I was gonna let you do that.
That's your job.
Well,
Well,
I want to hear what Donna says, and I want to see some final wording before I'm gonna make a final vote on this.
I think this is just a send off to her, because
All
she's
right.
gonna, if she comes back and says it doesn't fly, then we,
Right.
it's moot.
Okay.
So we can change the motion to approve to send to Donna in this version. That's probably a lower bar.
Yeah,
Probably
her
more
opinion-
accurate.
Her opinion, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Robert seconds.
okay.
Okay, more discussion?
You had to ask, huh?
I'll call the roll. Jeff,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
I'm an I.
Don't forget me.
I've forgotten somebody, I'm sure.
Yes,
Nathan, I'm
Nathan.
sorry. I can't, the pictures don't show all the time.
I'm an I.
Good. So it's unanimous. Good.
Now for the ZBA.
Do I have a motion?
I'll also move that it be sent off for Donna's interpretation.
Okay. Do we have a
I
second?
second that.
Okay, do we need any discussion anymore? I hope not. Okay. Are we ready to vote?
Yeah.
What say you, Jeff Lacy?
Aye.
Say you, Herb Gilmore?
Aye.
Say you, Chuck Damari? Aye, the ayes have it. It's unanimously approved by both boards.
Okay. So are we done with ZBA issues for tonight?
Yes, I think we are. Actually, let me look at my agenda just to make sure. We have I think we should just table new business. Let me see, old business could be tabled, schedule next meeting. Motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Okay, Herb,
I second.
all right, no discussion. Herb, what do you say, Herb?
Aye.
You say, Jeff?
Aye.
We say Chuck Damari, aye. So what time is it? 8:37 PM. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Aye.
Good night, CBA guys.
Take
Night.
When
care.
does the public get to speak?
Shush, quiet.
Sorry, what? Yeah, the public.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, please do.
Deacon, please, it's getting late. Let's keep this thing going here. We had public comment a long time ago. And I think we're done with this subject, so let's move on.
I think, Jeff, if it's not about the height thing, we should entertain conversation, but talking about the height, since we didn't talk about it, I don't think that, we don't have to discuss that part, but non-height stuff is probably okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would limit it. It's getting late.
Okay, I know, I know.
Please.
Look, I would like to take the comment, and I think we're really almost done. I have one more thing myself, but it'll be brief. So whoever wanted to speak, please do. Well, I'm not hearing. I'll move on to the one minor thing that I had. Becky called me this morning with a query. The Kestrel Trust wants to expand its parking on some land they're managing by Janowitz. They want to increase the parking area. Becky wanted to know if we would have anything to say about their increasing the parking area. I didn't immediately think of anything, but I'm bringing it to the board for other opinion.
So I can speak to that. It's part of a CPC application. And we have a CPC meeting tomorrow to review it. And then next month we have a official hearing about it. But Kestrel is putting in money and CPC is being asked to put in money to improve the parking area there. Right now, I've never been there, but it's sort of ad hoc parking. They want to make it more accessible. And then they're going to actually clean out some shrubberies, and then the trail going in towards the bog, they're going to make accessible. So the whole idea is Kestrel, I don't know what the right word is. They got the land from his estate. It was sort of deeded to them. So they're in charge of the land and they're looking to make it more accessible for public use. So that's the purpose of putting in official parking spaces. I think it's going to be, gravel or something like that, as opposed to what it is now.
Yeah, well, I think Becky's question really was whether we had anything to say about their increasing the parking, and I didn't know if we want. It didn't seem to me we wanted to say anything about their parking, but if that's.
No, I actually think it's a good thing for what it's worth. I know the area.
Yeah.
I know the kind of, as Michael said, ad hoc parking there is. And so I think the things that Michael said would be improvements, and I support it.
Sure. But
is this on street or just off street parking?
It's just it's really it's just off the road. I mean, all you do is you pull off the road into the area that you take the path down into the Janowitz property.
Where is this?
It's off Wendell Road, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So it's not on the road. You're off the road with your car, right?
You're off the road. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
Pull off the road and you can pull in so the rear of the car is not on the road. But I think what Kestrel wants to do is make it a little bit more obvious where it is and just expand it so you can pull a few cars in.
Yeah. We have a little section in parking in our zoning 8.2, just a tiny little paragraph. And it just talks about having a minimum of 2 off-street parking spots for all uses. And then says the approving board or building inspector may require additional off-street parking. So there's no real constraint on parking or parking regulations. So I don't think it's anything that we need to get into.
Right.
That's what I thought too. I will get back to Becky and with that view.
I have a picture. Hold on. There.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they just want to make it more real.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful spot.
And a little bigger.
Yeah. Hopefully, they're not gonna pave it. That doesn't seem necessary.
No, so Michael, I think said TRG, didn't you?
Something like that. I could look. It's,
Yeah.
I got the application open now.
Sure, they're not gonna pave it.
No, they're not going to do asphalt. No.
Yeah.
It'll be ground. I think it's ground, whatever.
So, Mr. Chairman, do we want to talk about the energy storage, or are we cooked?
Jeff, what are you?
I'm cooked.
I think we can talk about energy storage at any meeting that Chuck is not participating in, because we'll have more energy afterwards. So,
we'll
Right.
put that off to next time.
yeah. Can I, before you wrap up, just without getting into substance, was there any, besides the thing that you clarified, Jeff, with Donna, if people got to read it, is there anything that should be researched or checked or done between now and the next time we meet that would be helpful? So I'm willing to do it.
I think we have to make a decision about whether we want the freestanding. And if we want the freestanding to be an allowed use, then we need to look at that bylaw. And I would say that a lot of it is redundant with the solar bylaw. And possibly it could be shortened by just citing to the solar sections, listing a bunch of, just saying sections, blah, 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 of the solar bylaw shall apply to energy storage facilities. So then you don't have to write it all again, and you've got the direct citation.
That's good.
Just trying to think of ways to shorten it up.
Yeah, it got long for sure. And that's a good approach. I could definitely give that a shot between now and the next time we meet, if that would be helpful for people.
Yeah. And we should really think about whether we want to open this up as a use. I mean, we pretty much have to with the solar farms, and we may need some additional standards for that. But having freestanding batteries, they'd probably have to be along power lines somewhere.
Yeah. So what I read a little bit about freestanding, and Nathan, unfortunately, you can't correct me if I'm wrong, is that if it's freestanding, you lose power in the transmission and the distribution of it. So on both ends, it doesn't make any sense for Shutesbury, because freestanding means that you have to clear a certain area around the energy storage when it's not related to a solar installation where you've already got clearing going on. So there's no benefit to the town of Shutesbury that I see in it.
Yeah, I can imagine from a developer perspective, just from the reading, it seems like as there's more renewable generation going on, whether it's wind or solar or whatever, that they want to have sort of like storage installations that can feed into the grid in off hours or high demand hours and stuff. So, just say, for example, we had Wheelock and then Montague Carver, but we didn't have the other ones. I can imagine them putting a freestanding one down near the substation, where it would feed in, it would just go into a freestanding, and then it would go back and forth. So it's not a question of would it benefit Shutesbury or not, but I can imagine it like that's a place where someone would want to put it for that reason. Does that make sense?
It does, but freestanding is too open-ended, because it could mean anywhere they want, in any.
Oh, yeah.
Any footprint that they want to put it in wherever in Shutesbury. And that's what doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, no, I wasn't arguing that. It was just sort of a related point. I wasn't contradicting your point. So we can discuss it more fully next time, and I'll try to do that shortening thing that Jeff suggested.
So you're going to send those off to Donna, Michael, and she'll get back to us in meeting or written.
I guess I can ask her in the email what you would prefer. And I think as an addendum, I might send Steve's minutes that referenced the prior conversation between Jeff and Chuck.
What conversation was that, Michael?
The the one where Jeff and again and again and again.
Yeah, because one point I would make too is that we don't know the schedule yet. It might be that we would want to have a meeting before early March.
Yeah. Well, I do have an update. I asked Grace and Linda last week what they knew about town meeting. And it sounded like select board is going to be deciding, or maybe they decided last night. I'm not quite, that could have been, but it sounds like they were leaning towards May as opposed to April. So that buys us a little time.
Yeah.
So one thing I was going to mention before, this is wrap up comment there, while Chuck and Herb were on, but I forgot, was a lot of the cases I was reading kind of leading up to this, I got from the Massachusetts Handbook of Land Use. Now this is just out. It was authored by Bob Ritchie and Bob Mitchell. Bob Mitchell was the former planning director of Amherst and probably the most respected planner in the state. And this, it's written for boards and professional planners, and most lawyers would benefit from it. All these cases are hyperlinked. You know, the case, you can just hit the hyperlink and bang, you're in the case. You read the whole case. And it's got thousands of cases. Every aspect of land use law, zoning, subdivision, the works. So it would be, you have to be a member of the Mass chapter of the APA, and you can join, or maybe this planning board could join for, I think, $35 a year. And then you get access to this wonderful guidebook, which is the best thing I've ever seen. So I'm using it all the time now.
It'd be great if the planning board got an account and we all used it. That'd be really sweet.
What's the association, Jeff?
It's the Mass chapter of the American Planning Association.
Well, we've certainly got the money.
Yeah, it's a document that's designed. You can't, you can work with it up on the screen. I don't think you can print it. I don't think you can excerpt it, copy it, or anything else. You can read it. You can use the hyperlinks. But they kind of designed it not to get around, that you need to pay to use it. But $35 a year will get you in.
Can you do it as a body or do you have to do it as an individual membership?
I think the planning board could do it, and then you get a password.
Yeah.
That gets you into it.
Yeah. I'd be willing to sign up for the planning board and then get reimbursed if that's easy. Deacon, are you okay with that? Or you could do it.
I'm certainly okay with it.
Well, it would be a good idea if, I mean, I can get you any piece of information you want out of the thing now as a member, but it would be good if there was a way that the planning board could join as a board, and then for any member perhaps to be able to use the guidebook.
Well, I was thinking we'd sign up with planning@shutesbury.org is the email, because you need an email address, and then you just have to create a password. And if we all get those emails anyway, so we could log in with that shared email and then just create a password that everybody knows. That was what I was thinking.
Whatever's the easiest way to get it done, I think. It's not that much money.
Would spreading that password among members outside of a public meeting constitute a deliberation?
No, it's a fact. There's no deliberation.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how
I'll put it in the minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, if somebody wanted to do some research, you'd probably just go to the Mass chapter of the American Planning Association website and find out how we could become a member, and then under what terms the board could access the guidebook.
I'm happy to do that and let everybody know.
Okay, great.
Great.
Yeah, so I would just say that, does anyone have access to that email account?
Planning? I do.
You do, okay.
Yeah.
Because to actually sign up with that account, you might need to be able to actually access the account as opposed, I don't know, I mean, I would say it's possible that, the link wouldn't work if it was forwarded.
Yeah. No, I can get in directly.
Okay.
That's how I add everybody for the forwarding and stuff.
Yeah, I figured you had it. I didn't know, yeah, just,
We'll find out what we have to do, Michael. I mean, and how it would work.
Okay. I'm on their site now, but I'll let you know.
Okay. Great.
Oh, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Your email, your full name and address. Yeah. Okay. I'll let everybody know. This looks like it's easy.
Good.
Good. So do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And a second from Jeff? Discussion? I'll call the roll. Jeff,
Aye.
Michael,
Hi.
Linda,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Robert,
I.
Nathan,
aye,
I'm an I. Great.
hallelujah.
All right.
Hey,
We'll
6
do it
minutes
again.
early.
see you in a few weeks.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Good
Bye.
night.